Alright, welcome to a lap of Zolder in the VW Jetta. This is a 148.07, which I think is about the quickest lap I've seen so far. I will, while we're going through this, I'll have a look at Garage 61 and see where it ranks. But okay, so starting from prior to the last corner, because obviously coming onto the corner is extremely important, or coming off the corner is extremely important for the run down the straight. The other thing I'm going to do while I'm doing this is I'm going to talk about some oh, by the way, okay, so this is the fourth fastest lap on Garage 61. So we've got a couple of guys that are a bit quicker, but so yeah, that's probably about right. And fourth fastest lap. Okay, so important to get the exit right up here. So we'll go, hang on, where are my buttons? Slow-mo. We'll slow it down. The secret with the Jetta is all about trail braking. You can see that there's quite a lot of trail braking. Because there's no aero or anything like that, you've got to get the weight over the nose. So there's nothing pushing it down. So the only thing that you can push the front down with is your brake. So trail braking is a huge part of being able to drive this car properly. And then there's a couple of tricks with the throttle as well. So the other thing is you want to take heaps curb. You can see, we go to rear chase, you can see that you can have your outside tyres on the curb, and I'll go through pretty much all the curbs. Is getting the curbs right is a massive part of this lap. The other thing, particularly with this one, is where you exit the curb rather than where you enter it. So you see where my wheel is here, right over on the left hand side of the curb as I'm leaving that one. So this is the last section, the last chicane. Alright, so what you do here, I'm in third gear, you could probably take it in fourth, but get in third, and you want to you want to be really as far left as you can get, so that you can get the throttle down pretty early. And you can see plenty of throttle in third gear. So with this car, lock. So in this case, I'm dragging it back to the left. So you drag the car with the front wheels and the throttle. So basically, as the wheels are pointing a direction, you drag the front of the car that way. So long trail brakes in to get the front of the car turned in. The back can slide around, it's kind of okay. And then using the throttle and the steering input to drag the car from the front out of the corner. So you can see that plenty of throttle. Now there's another little trick too. When you turn in, you see I've got heaps of steering input on. And in this case, I have kept it flat. So again, coming out and keeping the car all the way over to the right-hand side, all the way to the end of the curb, and still having it on the right-hand side at the end of the curb, so that you can just keep the throttle flat and use the front wheels dragging it across to get you out of the corner. And using plenty of curb on the left-hand side out here as well. So you can see that there was lots of lock on there. So it's very different from driving rear-wheel drive. You would unwind lock and use the rear. You wouldn't flatten the throttle. You would balance the car on the throttle when you're doing that. So that is one of the differences with this car. Okay, so we've come out here, we're now straightening up the wheel and we're going flat, and obviously flat out down the straight. I will fast forward the straights because they take a really long time. Okay, now this is super important. So the braking point, so technique for finding your braking point. So one of the things that's really important is, especially in an endurance race, is to be really consistent, be in the same gear each time, use the same braking point each time, do the same things every lap on the on the race, in your stint. The moment you start doing something different, then the car's going to act differently. That's where you start getting in trouble and things go a bit wrong. So by braking point, I mean specifically the visual cue that you use to figure out when to hit the brakes. Now, in this particular case, it's the second Coca-Cola sign here. And as you're driving down the straight, you're looking at that point. So as I'm driving down here, my eyes are looking at the second Coca-Cola sign all the way down here. And so I think from what I've seen from some of the enduro driving, that's something that we're maybe not doing 100%. So the thing about driving or riding a bike or anything is the car is going to go where your eyes are looking. So if you're looking at your braking point, and I mean the braking reference point, not trying to figure it out, because there's nothing on the road here to be able to figure it out from, except for maybe a couple of little skid marks there. You're not going to be able to consistently hit the same spot by trying to use the middle of the road, and you're not going to be able to do it by feel. You have to look at the point at which you want to hit the brakes. So we're in 6th gear, we're pretty much topping out in terms of speed for this car, and hitting the brakes, a little bit lazy on the throttle there, and you can see what's that, about 70% brake, and I'm turning still with 50% brake on. You would never do that, or very rarely would you do that in a rear-wheel drive. So still heaps of braking, 30%, maybe 35%. I'm turning, still heaps and heaps and heaps of trail braking, trail brake. And so I'm not even off the brake until, and this is really important, the car is pointed already at the apex. I'm not swooping into the apex, I'm pointing at the apex. So if we have a look from the camera angle, so if you look, there we go, the car is, we're a long way before the apex, and the car is pointing at the apex. Another thing is my eyes are at the apex. So from the point that I have hit my braking point, which is there somewhere, from that point I'm then looking at the apex that I want to hit. So again, the car will go where you look. So my foot's doing the braking, my eyes are looking at the apex. And now you can see the dynamics of the car, how it pitches. It pitches to the front right there. It's we don't want to be spinning out. We don't want to be sliding the car at the rear, but we want to be putting the weight over the front. Hang on, I'm on the wrong lap again. I hate it when that happens. Nope. Go back one more. Okay. So, yeah. Same thing though. Still hitting the braking point, braking marker at the same point. Lots of trail braking. In this case, you can see there's a little steering input there because the rear has slipped a little bit. So we've had to correct it, and that's okay in this car. Alright, so again, car is pointed well before the apex. It's already pointed at it. And we're still trail braking. We've got heaps of lock on. And then once we get to the apex, again, you can see heaps of throttle very quickly. So still with the wheel turned, and we're using throttle and lots of steering input to drag the car around, to see how that's all over the place, but the front of the car is dragging itself around with the steering input. So get rid of that for the moment. So you can see there that we finally, we know it's going to turn, great, and now we can start straightening up, and we're still flat. Fifth gear through that corner, and fifth gear through this whole complex. And so then the next thing, we obviously take as much of the road as we can there, get across to the left, and then I'm looking at from the moment I come out of that corner, and I've managed to, so once you get to the apex, you're then looking at the exit with your eyes using power, and then I'm looking at my next braking marker, which is here. So again, there's not much that you can see. Maybe you could use this little hut over here, but it's a long way away, or you could use the end of the gravel here as your braking marker. But again, looking at it, so I look at, when I'm coming out here, there's a little kind of funny dip in the road here, slightly kind of weird angle on the white line. That's what I use when I come out there. I'm looking there, and that's my braking point. So braking, say 20 meters before the curve starts happening, and braking right there next to the gravel. So if you come out of that corner, you look at the end of the gravel, you drive over to where you're looking, and you hit the brakes at exactly that point. And Jack will tell you that I've got a lazy throttle foot there. I'm not coming off throttle quick enough. And then again, so this one's a light brake. You only get to not even 50%, maybe just. So a light brake, and then again we're looking at the apex. The apex is over here somewhere. So the moment that we've passed our braking marker, we've got our eyes on the apex. Keeping our eyes on the apex, long trail brake, and again there's a little correction there, so the rear is moving around, and that's okay. We want all the weight over the front tyres to give them the most grip possible. Once we're pointed at the apex, so again we'll have a quick look at what that looks like. So from directly behind the car, so we're pointed pretty close to the apex. Hitting this apex is less important than the last one, and there's others that are really important. This one is not so important that you actually hit the apex. This is a nice kind of smooth corner. Okay, so we're already on throttle, and again turning the wheel and using the throttle to drag the front of the car across. You can see more steering input there, more throttle, and I'm dragging the front. Now, this is a really important thing. With front-wheel drive cars, and this one in particular, watch what happens with my throttle here. So I am going to wash wide. You can see where the car is pointing. I'm going to wash wide. So what you do when you're going to wash wide in these cars is a quick lift off the throttle to get the weight back over the front, and you can see the dynamics of the car. It just dives at the front, puts all the weight on the front tyre, and then back on the throttle straight away. So it's like a spike. Yeah, and then so straight back on the throttle. We've got it where we want it. We're then using the throttle to drag that car around again, and away we go. This next part is just a matter of trying to take as little distance as possible. Again, we're keeping it in fifth. As we come up to this area, the Jetta is screaming a bit. It's right at the top of its rev range, but that's okay. And then my braking point is, so what I'm looking at as I come out of the corner there, and what I'm looking at is this access road up here. So there's like a recovery road there. That is my braking point for the next turn. So let's just get this cleaned up. Okay. So coming up to the braking point, now this one is a really light brake. So you're at the top of fifth, that's cool. The Jetta's screaming, that's cool. And then there's maybe a 50-cent brake, and then right off. And this is a very open corner. So again, we're using We're using a little bit of braking just to wash off a little bit of speed and to get the front of the car turned in, and then as soon as we're pointed at the apex, I'm going to say that a lot in this video, we're then on the throttle. So using, again, lots of steering angle, using throttle to get the car to be where I want it to be. You want to clip these, so fifth gear again, you want to clip these, I don't know what you call them, bumpers, and then just flat out and let it roll wide, this car bounces around alarmingly, but that's okay. And then use all the track on the exit, but try not to hit the gravel, it slows you down. And then, very good. So now we're on the straight. Again, I'll fast forward that because it takes forever. You know, go and make yourself a hamburger while it gets down the straight. It's not exactly the fastest car in the world. Right, braking point here is a tricky one. You've got the 100 board there, and you've got, so for a visual reference, what you should be looking at as you come down here, you've got the 100 board there, and you've got the colour changes on the fence down here, and you've got a pole here. I personally brake in the middle of this discoloration on the track. That seems to work for me. Obviously what you need to do is visually find a reference and be looking at that reference as you drive down the straight, and then make sure that when you get to it, that's where you hit the brakes. So yeah, the braking point is kind of in between the 100 board and that pole there, and it really is like in the middle of this discoloration is the braking point here. Okay, so fairly large brake here, so up to 80%, down to fourth gear, and then early turn in with trail brake, but it's not the same as the other ones. It's not like getting it on the nose and keeping it there forever, and you don't want to have too much, you don't want to have it too sideways as you hit this curb. So what I'm finding here is you don't want to take all the curb on the left hand side because it makes it bounce too much, but you do want to take a fair bit. So you can see that I've just missed these sausage curbs, and we're trying to get to a straight line between here and somewhere up there somewhere, making sure that we don't get an off track here. So the curb will bounce you a bit, which is fine, and then it's flat out, you're in fourth gear, smash the throttle, and then go as straight as you can. And let's have a look. So that is about as much as you can take without getting an off track. So I believe it's something to do with half the car being outside the painted lines here. You can see we're going flat, there's not much steering input on. The car's going to bounce, and that's okay, absolutely fine. And then, yep, bounce it off, and then not too much steering angle. We're trying to keep it fairly open steering so that we're not scrubbing any speed, and then flat out. Now over this hill, I kind of go a little bit wide and then come back. Doesn't matter that much. Just whether you want to stay left or go right, whatever you're going to do, just make sure you do it consistently. And then again, we are looking for a reference point here. Now, the reference point here is not a visual reference point in terms of picking a thing that you're looking at. What it is the reference point here is where the road straightens. So you come out of this corner, you're in sixth gear, you're going flat, the road straightens up, and when the car stops turning is when you hit the brakes. So you're still visually looking at where you want the car to go. So you're looking here as you come out, straighten up the car, and then hit the brakes. And again, it's a pretty heavy braking event, 80%, 85%. Not try like it's the ABS in this car is fine and it works quite well, but it's still better not to be in it. Now you see that I'm lining up to put my left hand wheels on this curb. I'm coming down to fourth gear, and allowing it to go quite wide, and then again, so we're entering from as wide as possible, trail braking again, getting the front to hook up. Now, secret to this set of corners is, of course, any chicane going straight as possible, but understanding how much curb you can take, and it is that much curb. So you take as much curb as you can, aiming to have your outside tyres basically halfway across this curb. I think you can actually take even maybe a little bit more than this. So bouncing it over there, and the other thing that this does is it actually bounces the front of the car off the ground. That's kind of fun. Oops. So where are we? Rear chase. Yeah, so the front of the car actually bounces off the ground here. There it is. It's kind of fun. So you need to be angled at the point that it's going to bounce. You want the car to be angled where you need to be, which is doing the same thing on the next curb. So you get your left-hand wheels right out here somewhere, right-hand wheels halfway across this curb. Bounce it, which is fine, and then it's even in the air as soon as it lands, turning the wheel, and not braking, but not throttling either, because the car's going to come down pretty hard, and you turn the wheel off the throttle to get it to turn, so the weight's on the front wheel, and the bouncing kind of helps it, which is weird. And then you take as much of this curb as you can. Rear chase here, so you can see you're taking, in fact, you're almost got your outside wheels on the curb. I think that as long as you have these wheels on these curbs, you're okay. You take a huge amount of curb here. I was watching the practice race before, and I noticed that Luke, sorry to pick on you, mate, but you weren't taking these curbs. And the secret to you've got to just take all the curbs. Take as much curb as you can. And the other thing is here, so you'll see that as soon as I'm here, I'm using a bit of throttle, and so I'm dragging the front of the car around on the throttle, and the car bounces, and as it bounces, it changes direction as well. So all that stuff is what you're trying to do. You're trying to come out of here kind of left, but you're trying to build speed as well. And then using the throttle, so fourth gear still all in fourth gear, building the throttle, and you can get up to 100%, and then you need it to turn right. So there's a lot of wheel work here. You like half lock left, half lock right, 90 degrees. As you're coming out of this chicane, you're using the throttle to drag the car to the left and to settle as well. As soon as you are settled, you are turning the car to the right and lift off the throttle to get the weight on the front axle to get it to turn. As soon as it has turned, straight back on the throttle again. I'll show you how much curb you can take here. So again, you actually, as long as you've got all of your wheel on the curb here, you're taking grass, that's fine. You're just murdering the curbs, basically. All the way across, and using your throttle to just make sure that you're keeping enough weight on the front wheels to get it to turn, and then flat out of there. You can run a little bit wide here. You can even put wheels on the grass if you want to, that's fine. Which I've done there, and then you're flat, and then we're flat for a while. So this corner's easy. It's just a matter of trying to not scrub off speed, go back to the right a little bit, and then come in left. Braking point is the 100 board, so our eyes are on the 100 board. I actually brake just a little bit later than that, but I recommend that you use the 100 board. So you can see, and I think I've said this before a couple of times, my visual reference is where I will be at my highest braking point. So even though I'm visually looking at that and I'm calling that my braking point, you can see that I'm already starting to brake. So, and we're up to a pretty heavy brake pressure, so 85%-ish, straight wheel, we're going to bring it down to third gear. So we got up to 6 there quickly. Bring it down to third gear. We're going to go all the way to the left, of course. I probably left a little bit of space there. And again, it's a big trail brake in. Early turn in, big trail brake in. Now this is a weird one. This is a real front wheel drive corner. So as soon as you got it turned, mash the throttle and the front wheels will drag you out of the corner and straighten you up. So again, exact opposite of what you'd really do in a rear wheel drive car. You'd be very careful on the throttle out of there in a rear wheel drive car because you didn't want to spin. Here you just turn the wheel and mash the throttle. Okay, and then down this straight. Now I leave it in 5th here. You could go to 6th. I leave it in 5th. My braking reference point is this pole. I'll just quickly make that a little easier to see. So, I don't know, you can't really see it. Anyway, after the 100 board, there is a pole. And that is my braking reference point. So I'm leaving it in 5th gear, coming up 100 board, and then there's the pole, and you can see that I'm hitting the brakes at the pole. And I'm actually looking at that pole as I drive down because that's my braking point. As soon as I've found my braking point, I'm on the brakes, heavy brake. I'm now looking from here to the apex to where I want the car to go. So now I bring it down to 3rd gear here. So fairly late change to 3rd gear. The car doesn't really want to do it, but I use 3rd gear just to get it to drag itself across a little bit easier after this first curb. So turning in fairly late, and again we're looking to use as much curb as possible. We went through this a little bit at the start. Oh, maybe that's a good way to show it. As much curb as possible. So again, if your outside wheels are on the curb, you're okay, and it's the exit of the curb. So we're not trying to hit an apex here and bounce out there. We're trying to turn in late, use all the curb, and still be on the curb at the exit of the corner, whilst getting throttle on to drag the front of the car to where we want it. Once we've got it where we want, it's a quick change of direction on the wheel, and you can normally just about get through there flat. So I have done this time, change up to 4th in between. So we're in 3rd, changing to 4th on the change of direction because it just gives it a momentary like lurch forward in the weight of the car, which then gets the weight of the front wheels so that you can use the power. And again, I gotta stop saying again, it's annoying, isn't it? Your sight lines, which are really important, are, so you've hit your braking point, we're looking over here, we're looking at the exit of this curb because that's where we want the car to be, using the power to get there. We're there, then we're looking at the exit of this curb with our eyes because that's where we want the car to be. And power down and letting it run wide, using plenty of lock because front wheel drives will drag themselves around, bringing it out as wide as you want to go. You do get an off track if you hit this stuff out here, so no off track there. And then diagonal line to our next braking point, which we're looking at already, and across the line for a 148.072. So there you go. Hopefully this is helpful. I hope that you guys use it to find some consistency. To summarize, this particular track is all about taking curbs, all about trail braking in this car, all about getting the car pointed the way you want and manipulating the weight transfer and then using the power to drag it out. Thank you very much. I hope that's helpful. And yeah, good luck in the 23 hour.